What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Marquita Simone, and I am back with another video. Except for in this video, you are actually seeing my face, the person behind the poetry down below. And I am so glad that you're here. But while you're here, please like, comment, and subscribe to your girl's YouTube channel. And we're going to get straight into the video. As you read by the title, today is testimony time, and I will be talking about a time where God asked me to leave a relationship that I was very comfortable in. And I'm just going to start by how me and this person met. We met in 2012. I was coming home from work. He stayed around the corner, and I decided to give him a chance or whatever. And we lasted for 6 years. And that's when God was like, no more. And he called me to cut it off, or told me actually to cut it off. The relationship was very unhealthy. It started off unhealthy, but I didn't realize it at the time that it was unhealthy. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, infidelity, narcissism, manipulation, and amongst other things. But I just wanted to give in a nutshell the kind of things that I've experienced from the person, and the things that also what I did to the person, because we all like to think we are perfect, but we are not. And I was something else. And I thank you, Lord, for delivering me. Thank you. So now that we've talked about how we met, we're going to get like straight into it. So around the time, so as I mentioned, I was dating this person for 6 years. So within those 6 years, our last 2 days, 2 years of dating, talking about 2 days, our last 2 years of dating, God had really began to work on me, and he showed up in my life. I was just randomly minding my business, um, out shopping, and it was people out praying for people, evangelizing. And that's how I got connected to a new church, because I previously was at another church, stopped going to church, started living how I wanted to live. But I met these people, and I got connected with them. And as I got connected with this church, I began to seek God more and more, because I was going through a lot with this relationship, but not just with this relationship, just a lot of stuff that happened prior to me meeting him, that happened throughout my whole life, that I never dealt with. And it just got worse as I connected with this person and tried to be in a relationship unwhole, which caused the whole thing to just be bad in the first place. Um, so as I was in the relationship, as I mentioned, those 2 years, God just began to work on me. I was going to church more, reading my word, and God was just speaking through me. Well, actually, to me, not through me. He was speaking through prophets. He was speaking through His word. He was speaking to me during prayer. I really, truly want to say that healing began for me, where I realized was when me and my ex, we had our own apartment, like our last year of dating. And I had my blanket down on the floor, and I was just really like crying, like the ugly tears, y'all, like just boohoo crying, looking ugly, snot, tears. And I was laying down on the floor, and as I'm doing all this crying and things like that, I just remember myself reaching out and calling for God, calling for Jesus, saying how much I need him in my life, and how I wanted him to fix my situation. And as I reached out my hand, I had a vision. I just remember Jesus just walking into the room. And as he walked into the room, he stopped right in front of my blanket where my hand was reached out. And I touched the hem of his garment. And literally, y'all, after that day, my life was nowhere near the same. So I started experiencing conviction, being in this relationship. Even though around this time we were like kind of cool, like we still was going through things, but we were managing, and it was it felt like it was on the verge of being better. And so just when I thought it was getting better, God was like, no. And so I had said something to God around this time. It was New Year's. And I was like, God, if it's not meant for me to be with this person, don't let us go into the new year together. And literally on New Year's, like 11 something going into 12 a.m., me and this person, we ended up getting into like an argument because I wanted him to watch a sermon with me, to bring in the new year, with God, and he didn't want to do it. And so we got into an argument, and then in that moment I realized, God was showing me that this person was not for me. Not because this person is a bad person. I'm not here to talk about anyone's character. God just separated us for the reasons why he did it. And so after that, I was like, okay, I think God is saying that it's time for me to break up this relationship. But I did not want to. I still was in love with him. I wanted to be with him. I felt like, if I take him to church with me, things would change and he would become this better person. Just like I'm changing, he'll change too. And so, as God, you know how you get the good news about God and who he is, and God get the change in you, and evolving you, and it's like you just want to tell the whole world, right? And so I wanted him to change with me, like, yo, like God changed me, like he could do the same for you, you know what I mean? But I was trying to rush his process, so he can, change with me. And so after that, I realized once again, like, okay, God, this is not gonna work. And I started to feel conviction about still having sex with this person, just doing things that we should not have been doing because we weren't married as God calls us to be, before we do certain things. And so my conviction led me straight to obedience. And I say that because as I was going throughout that week or so, months even, we had something at church, and it was like, we ended up having a prophetic like altar call. And y'all, I was running from the altar because no, I don't want no word. I don't want to hear what God is saying. I just don't want it. And so the man was like, "Do you need prayer?" And I'm just like, "No, I don't need prayer at this moment." Mm-mm. And he was like, "Okay." And then so I was like, "I just want to get tissue." And he's like, "Okay." And so I went to get my tissue because I'm crying because God is moving. And I'm just standing near the altar, not at the altar. And I see this lady jump off the altar. And I was just like, here we go. God, I thought we was here when I said I didn't want a prophetic word. Like, because I already knew what God was going to say because he's been speaking it to me all throughout the week, the month. Like, after, I'm telling you, after I touched the hem of God's garment, Jesus' garment, literally my life changed. And I just started getting revelation about different things, what to do. And so long story short, she jumps off this, she's a prophet. She jumped off the altar, came to me, and she was just like, "Marquis, do you know, I don't know your situation. I don't know anything about you, who you're dating, or what's going on. But God is saying, in a nutshell," she said, "God is saying to leave this person." And I just started crying ugly again, boo-hooing. And she was like, "I know you don't want to do it. Like, y'all, I'm crying on this lady. I'm talking about I got slob coming out my mouth." And I was just like, I don't want to do this because I was not ready to leave him. But once God spoke through her, I knew because he was already speaking to me, but I was just like ignoring it. And so God sent the prophet, like, no, I'm telling you that you have to leave this person. And so I did not do it that Sunday, maybe not that Monday either. Maybe it wasn't on Sunday. I don't remember when it was. But I didn't do it the next day. I did it like the day after. We ended up breaking up. And it was very, very hard for me to break up with this person. And so now we're at the breakup and I move out. And so I thought, this lady, she prophesied that God said he had better for me. So I'm like, okay, better. I wasn't thinking of relationship. I was thinking of a better life, a better me, better version of myself. And so I took it upon myself to go find me another apartment, and as I was looking for another apartment, that didn't quite work out. I had signed a lease for a day. Some stuff was going on there, so they allowed me to end the lease after one day. So I had to go back to my sister's house, and I felt so betrayed by God. Like, how, God, do I go from having my own place to going back with my sister, whom, I struggled with living with because, like, me and my sister had, like, some trauma within our relationship. And so I was just like, I don't want to move back there. Like, I wanted to be in my own space by myself, and I had to move back there. And I felt once again betrayed by God. Like, I did what you said, I was obedient to what you said to do, and now I have to go back with my sister. So I'm living with my sister for about 4 months, and then I find me an apartment with my roommate. At that time, we stayed together for about 2 years. And within those 2 years, I felt very, very, very isolated. And that's when I started to feel the weight of my relationship being over, because staying with my sister, I had family there. So I wasn't really thinking about it. I had people to laugh with, eat with, chill with. So I wasn't really thinking about it. But when I moved in with my roommate at the time, within those 2 years, I felt very isolated because everything that I had going on for myself, or even the people I hung out with, was connected to my ex. And so I was like, wow, like this feels even worse than the actual breakup, because now I have no friends. Now I have nobody to really go outside with, nobody to really like chill or do nothing with. It was literally just me. And I had my roommate, of course, but she had her own life going on. So it was just me in my room, and I'm an introvert. So I love to be like by myself, but I think I struggle when I'm forced to be by myself. It's just like, so God, like, I left this man alone, and you mean to tell me like now I ain't got nobody to hang out with? Like, God, I don't like how you moving. Like, that's how I felt. Like, you tell me to break up with this person, now I gotta move back in with my sister. We ain't really cool. Now, I'm living with this person, and I feel real isolated. I ain't got no friends, no homies. So that's how we doing, like that. Literally, that's how I felt about God. Um, but what I began to realize in isolation, I was going through a process of where God was just taking away everything, all the lies that the enemy has told me, the rejection, abandonment that I felt, the insecurities that I had within myself, everything that was weighing me down. God began to lift the weight off of me by addressing it, and I had to get down to the root of the issues that I was having. And God was just ministering to me, giving me revelation. God put some mighty and powerful people in my life. I was one time I said, I wish I had some mentors, and God at the time he gave me two. And so they spoke into me, and my life just began to kind of like blossom. But as it was blossoming, it got uncomfortable. And when it got uncomfortable, I went back to what was comfortable, because I was like, just like in shock. Like, I don't think like this is for me. Like, I'm used to who I used to be. I'm gonna go back there. And every time I went back, I ended up back at the feet of Jesus. And so oftentimes we may not know why God is telling us to do something. In my scenario, I didn't know why God was telling me to leave this person. Of course, because it was unhealthy, but it was really deeper than that. It's because he wanted to pull me away. I believe he wanted to pull me away to really get to know him and to learn myself, because it's like, how can you love someone or say that you love someone, but you don't even really know who you are, and you don't know who I am. You're saved, but you don't know who I am. And so, man, God just did a lot for me in those times where I was in, what do I call it? Isolation, because it was just nobody but me and him. And of course, I have the people at church, as I said and mentioned earlier. But when you go home or those in between times, it's just you. It was just me and God. And so he began to show me, as I was reading his word, I began to learn that what he said about me was true, that I'm precious more than rubies. I'm above and not beneath, that he loves me. He is, his love is unfailing, that, I have strength, I have power, I have dominion. Like, God just began to just really release me, in a sense. No, restore me. That's what he did. He began to restore me, and rejuvenate me and replenish me. And the person that I am today, I'm not that same person that I was. And I'm still learning me. But God was just so gentle and so sweet with me. He was so gracious and changing and molding me. And sometimes we may not understand why God does what he does, but he does it because we need it. And we may not feel like we need it at the time. And so when he took me from this relationship, he did all the things that I just mentioned. And I am just so grateful that I took the time to be obedient unto God, because if I did not, I would not be where I am right now. So if you are like me and God is calling you into obedience, whether it's to leave someone that you're with, whether it's to leave your job, he may not be asking you to leave anything. He just may be asking you to fully submit to him. Whatever it is that God is asking you to do, you may not understand why, but trust me, there is something in the long run. There is a blessing in it. And you're going to have so much joy after it. Like, the process was difficult. And I can do another story time also about that whole process, right? Because I did mention that God processed me and I was isolated. But in that isolation, within the whole process period, it was something, but it turned out to be beautiful. Even where I felt like I can't do this, it was still beautiful. And I know that if God did it for me, he can do it for you. And I know that this video is kind of like on the surface of things, but I can also get deep into in between, these stories that I'm telling within one testimony, because God has truly been good to me. And I know he's been good to you too. So that's the end of this video. If you want to know more about this story time, if you want me to go more into depth, or if you have any questions, drop them down below and I will be sure to address them. I love you guys, and bye-bye.